Yeah, that was embarrassing and beautiful. And this is my support group, but it is so much more. I'll say first about Father Pollard. He knows what door-to-door means. He goes out and he finds our new worshipers at St. John, the beloved parish in McLean, and he is a hero of mine. Carly shows that if you are a medieval history and philosophy major, that prepares you for life. This is what I love to tell my kids, guys. You learn how to think, you learn how to speak, and you can convince people. What a beautiful example. And she didn't say that on that conference call, I told her later, but afterwards we hung up, and Jane Abraham and I said, it is probably the best interview we have ever had. She knows of what she speaks, and she speaks from the head and the heart in a convincing way. You already know that. I want to thank our board, who is almost all here: Jane Abraham, Susan Hirschman, Rob Caney, I haven't seen him at all today, Kathleen Euland, Sean Filer, Mara Mudd, and Carol Moore, who leads the Sisterhood Band of Fun. And co-chairs, Ken and Rosa Blackwell, who really show what being co-chairs of an event really could be, which means they really probably called you and asked, how much are you going to give? Are you going to be there? I would be surprised if they had not reached one of you. Also, I just want to thank, it is really a blessing to have the members of Congress and senators here to really just be at this moment of refreshing and reinvigoration. Senator Daines, Senator Fisher, Senator Mitch McConnell, Senator Tom Tillis, Joni Ernst, Lindsey Graham, who will be here in a minute, and Rob Portman, who I still haven't seen, but I know you're here somewhere. Raise your hand, and if I can. And then Congressman Emmer, Franks. Let's just say Congressman Chris Smith, Bill Flores, Patrick McHenry, and Keith Rothfuss, my old friend that helped me convert to Catholicism. So that's all that's here. But here's what I came to you to say tonight. I know almost every person in this room. I really know almost all of you. And in different ways, we have been fighting for a very long time. And this movement has been longer than it should have been. It's been going on for way too many decades. But here's what I see, and I really want you to see it, that we are at a historic moment. We are at a moment of great change. For the first time since Roe versus Wade, we are very close to protecting even just one class of children before they are born, not because they are protected by a parental notification law, which is great, not because they are selected out because of a regulation, not because we are regulating around the child, but because of the fact that the child is the child. The child is the child who should be protected. A boy or girl created by God, sent into the world for a specific purpose, without whom we are a lesser nation. And our country is finally getting to the point where we are living up to the aspirations of our founding documents, the Declaration of Independence and the U.S. Constitution, living up to those aspirations when it comes to protecting the life of the most vulnerable children, people who we were at one point, means that we are continuing a line of protecting human rights that our founders realized that they had set up a system wherein we could do just that. They set up a system of government where when there were moments, when there were unjust institutions, we had the tools to fight. What I believe what happened in the pro-life movement, it has been so long. I really believe that many of us perhaps started to lose some faith that we could protect any class of those young citizens, but no one ever has stopped. We've been on our knees. We have been in front of clinics. We have welcomed women into pregnancy care centers and have welcomed their children in the world by the tens of thousands. No one has ever given up. But what this moment is something to behold, and I'll tell you what I've seen in the last election cycle, and I hope you've seen it too. Abortion-centered feminism is dying, if not dead. Candidates in last election were advised by Emily's List to not speak of the abortion issue almost across the board. Emily's List has now retreated from its own position at having abortion at the center of its own test, its own conference calls. Talk about pay equity. Talk about family life. This is what Hillary Clinton is talking about now. Talk about anything but what they were founded on in the beginning. So that bottom has dropped out of the war on women. That abortion piece of it is really, truly dropping out. It did not work. They may shift to another war on women thing, but it won't be abortion-centered. I tell you that I believe that's true. Every other human rights movement that has been successful has come to a place where the people that were involved in it, everybody in this room, we come from such different places, has realized the moment that they were in. And so I think tonight, for me, I've been looking forward to it because, in my view, it's that moment to understand where you are, to seize the moment, and then to freshen our resolve. Because when we see that there is the seminal battle ahead of us, we better get trained up. I guess I got to go to boot camp. I guess I better start exercising, Marty. But this is where we are. And this moment is now. In 2014, in every single race we were involved in Arkansas, Louisiana, North Carolina, and later Kansas, we found that abortion center had dropped out, that the person-to-person, like what Carly described, that person-to-person interaction on the doorstep of a neighbor or somebody in our community, that person-to-person interaction made an enormous difference. That is when we compound and echo the movement. That is the pathway to a future success that I believe in 2016 will build to a resounding success. In 2017, we will have a president that will pass a law to protect 15,000 to 18,000 children a year as a beginning. It's not enough. It is not enough. Every single child deserves protection, but it is a beginning after all this time. Marty and I were doing the math last night. Actually, I was thinking about the math. Marty was actually doing the math. And you know what that means? It means about 40 kids a day. Kind of a big classroom of kids every single day. That's what that means when that law is passed. And we are on the verge of that. Every single presidential candidate, we have heard some great statements from some of them in the last week, have taken this particular issue on of the pain-capable late term, the 5-month bill. They have taken it on, and what they have done is they have accomplished something really important that is really why we are seeing change, and that is we are now on the offense. The script has been flipped from 2012. 2012, we were on the defense. Now we're on the offense. Rand Paul says, I'll answer that rape and incest question as soon as you tell me, Debbie Wasserman Schultz, what the Democratic Party's position is on aborting a 7-pound baby. You get back to me, reporters, as soon as you've gotten that question. That is confidence. That is offense. That is believing in your ideas, advancing them in the public sphere, and really making a difference. And that is where our candidates are right now. Thanks. It's a really, really, really proud moment. And it's not perfect. You know, there are going to be wrinkles everywhere we go, because human beings keep on being us, right? You know, we've got a little hitch in the House. We're working on trying to get that bill to the floor. Senator Lindsey Graham, he's ready to move that bill. All the presidential candidates, they seem lined up to go. It's kind of the path of the partial birth abortion ban, which went through twice, vetoed twice. Jim Bob, you know this better than anybody else. Finally got to the point where we would have a president who would sign that bill, and we made some advances. And that's exactly what we're seeing now, but I think much faster. I think then, here's where we are. We're looking at 2016, and we have a few states that we have to do really well in. We've got many states. But certainly with the Susan B. Anthony list, we know where to focus. We know where to target our resources. We know now, we believe one thing is very true. That is, the person-to-person is everything. Morton Blackwell, who's here, taught me that. I knew it was true. Now it's turning out to be more true than I knew. Okay? And the other thing is, and this is something that Frank Cannon and Emily Buchanan and others have really pushed very hard, and that is, if we really believe in our ideas, if we really think this is true, why are we not bold with them? Why do we not take them to Democrats, to Hispanics, to Democratic women? People keep calling them soft Democratic women, which I keep sometimes thinking might be not the right word, but Democratic women who could easily not be Democrats. They could, when they hear what pro-choice is, if pro-choice is being for late-term abortion, well, I'm not pro-choice. Those are the women who are there, but are not being contacted. Nobody's going to their door. And in this Hispanic community, these communities which the Republican Party often has not been able to communicate well, sorry, Ryan, I'm sure we'll do better next time, but on every other issue, this issue really resonates. This is the peel-off issue. This is the boldness that the Democratic Party had in going after our voters. Well, now it's our time to change the electorate, and that's what we plan to do in 2016 in a handful of really pivotal states. The last thing I want to say, frankly, is the most important thing, and that is, if this battle is ahead of us, we do really need to refresh our resolve, because we have some important work to do. It can't be that we're on the fumes of a lot of years of fighting really hard. It can't be. It has to be, we see this as the beginning, because in truth, it is the beginning. This is the beginning of the end of abortion. I really believe that's true. So if we're going to refresh ourselves, how do we do that? Okay, well, always, it's the hardest thing. It's coming back to what we're talking about. And in the last few months, there are two things that I've really been thinking a lot about. One is after I met a great woman who is producing the movie about the Gosnell horror. And I'm going to apologize ahead of time about bringing it up. When Ann talked about this, Ann McElhenney brought this up, we were having lunch, and she kept reeling it back. I'm not sure what I can say, what I can't say. Her feature film is going to tell the story, but it is an incredibly accurate story of this particular abortionist who was tried for murder and found guilty and is behind bars now for the death of a woman and several children. Children because by the law they were defined that. When I say that refreshing means coming back to the child, I mean what Ann has said to me, Ann, who is an investigative reporter and very pro-choice. She's interviewed everybody in that entire process, the ADA, the detectives, the people on the jury, everyone that she somehow, I don't know how, through some kind of Holy Spirit and magic combined, they have somehow been able to interview all these people. And what they've come to is just incredible grief. It is so awful. It is so terrible. You know, these kids are killed by slitting the backs of their necks because they were too alive. The sounds of children trying to live were heard in other rooms. The severed feet were put on shelves like trophies from this man, like a serial killer would do. Okay, if we can't hear this and internalize it, we can't do what we need to do. And I think that's where we are. It's much worse than even I'm saying. And it is not just Gosnell. It is not just this horrible man. It's clinics in Delaware, clinics in Charlotte, clinics in Texas, clinics all over the country where this horror is occurring. We need to know that this is happening because it's so hidden. The other thing is the life, if we can understand and get our minds around what it means to look at another human being and see them as so expendable, think of them as trophies. Well, the children who seem to be most expendable in our culture right now are children with disabilities. And in my view, if we can really understand who those children are and what their value is, then people begin to understand the value of every child, because then they're not a commodity anymore. They're not a trophy anymore. They were sent for a particular purpose. They teach us, whether you have faith or not, what humility means. And without humility, it is really hard to move on. Certainly in this town, we all know that, right? But in any town. And if you are a believer, who teaches us better that to gain yourself, you must lose yourself first. You must forget about yourself. That the weakest will always teach the strongest. But if we eliminate all of the weakest, how are we going to learn what that actually really means? They are our best teachers. They are our best teachers. They strip us of all of our extra stuff and help us be who we are. Those two pieces, I think, in a very kind of poignant and sad but important way, are refreshing to me. Getting back to why we do this and why we move forward. Why then we can go door to door. Why then we can elect a president who will sign this bill. And then we will keep going back. It won't be over. I just want to thank everyone in this room for being my support group. No, but everybody in this room for being who you are and not quitting. Not only not quitting, I really hope that tonight you will make a commitment to make this a new beginning. And if you are willing to make this a new beginning, I want to hear from you. I'm actually not just talking, I literally mean it. Like, I literally mean, I want you to call our office on Monday and let us know, I am ready. Here's what I've got, or what do you need? Because it's not me, it's this incredible team that I think has a great plan. So I want to thank you for listening and for everybody being here. And there's some more fun to come. And I believe I see Senator Lindsey Graham over there, which is great.